Good evening and welcome to a special programme from BBC North West tonight, reflecting on the life of the Duke of Edinburgh and his connections with our part of the world. Over the next half an hour, we'll hear about the Duke of Edinburgh's impact on young lives here, his support for academic institutions, and some of the many tributes which have been paid this afternoon by politicians, faith leaders, and people from all walks of life. People like these, who we spoke to in Northwich this lunchtime as the news was announced.
I felt very sad about it. He's done a lot to the country.
He was just old-fashioned. He's a gentleman, I think, and old-fashioned, so I think he'll be missed.
I think it's sad. I just feel for her, really. And, you know, whatever you think about him, he's served his life for his country in a way, hasn't he?
I think he's done a good job. He had the Duke of Edinburgh Award.
Yeah. It is sad to hear that he has passed on.
Reaction from Northwich in Cheshire this afternoon as news of the Duke of Edinburgh's death at the age of 99 spread across the northwest. Carol Lowe looks back on more than half a century of visits to this part of the world.
At Liverpool, the Duke of Edinburgh chats with dock workers on his arrival to open a new sports stadium.
It's 1953 and the Duke of Edinburgh is in Liverpool to meet dock workers and open a new stadium named in his honour.
The Duke was asked to open the new stadium because of his interest in British sport, and the dockers learn with pleasure that he has renamed it Edinburgh Park.
The Duke of Edinburgh has long enjoyed an interest in the North West and in its industrial history. Here he is in 1955, arriving in Manchester for a visit to British Rayon Research, before unveiling a commemorative plaque declaring Liverpool University Chemistry Building open. Just a year before, he was here with the Queen visiting Lilac Mill in Oldham.
This is at the Queen's personal request, and she and the Duke make it the longest stop of the Lancashire tour.
Liverpool, 1949. Prince Philip accompanies his wife, the then Princess Elizabeth, as they enter Rankin Porch at Liverpool's Anglican Cathedral. The building was still 29 years away from completion. On the same visit, the royal couple board a tender as it broke a ribbon to open a new dock.
The Empress of Scotland docks at Liverpool.
Back on Merseyside in 1951, returning from a tour of Canada. The young couple were greeted by crowds of thousands outside Liverpool Town Hall, before returning to the Anglican Cathedral for the very first ringing of its bells.
To hear the bells rung for the first time.
It's 1979, the year the Isle of Man celebrated its millennium, presided over by the Queen, the Duke of Edinburgh at her side. Several years later, in 1996, a visit under less happy circumstances. Manchester, to talk to those involved in the aftermath of the IRA bomb, which devastated part of the city centre and left 200 people injured. In 1985, there was huge media interest when he was photographed carriage driving across Morecambe Bay with the then Queen's Guide to the Sands, Cedric Robinson. In May 2012, the royal couple embarked on a tour of the region, just as they did in the 1950s. This time it was to celebrate the Queen's Diamond Jubilee. Here in Burnley, they boarded the Pride of Sefton for a tour of the Weaver's Triangle, to the delight of local schoolchildren.
I know we're like the luckiest children in the world.
More cheers from an excited crowd at Burnley Football Club before signing commemorative photographs with the Queen at Burnley College. On to Accrington and a rapturous reception from the crowd outside the town hall. Perhaps not quite reminiscent of his naval career, but a bit of fun nevertheless for the Duke on the Yellow Duck Marine on the Albert Dock, as well as a visit to Warrington's Orford Jubilee Park, where he buried a time capsule.
Well done, thank you.
Whether it was visiting the grand new headquarters of a building such as the Co-op, meeting children at a youth zone in Harper Hay in Manchester, or a visit to West Kirby on the Wirral in his role as patron of the Model Yachting Association. Prince Philip, Duke of Edinburgh, has had a long and memorable association with the North West and its people. Carol Lowe, BBC North West Tonight.
Well, we're joined this evening by the historian Dr. Jonathan Spangler. He's an expert on royal history from Manchester Metropolitan University, and thank you for taking the time to come and talk to us this evening. A man with a very strong character, played a very vital support role for many, many decades, but actually he was at one time in line to the throne himself.
Yeah, that's right. I think one of the things that the wedding of 1947 represents is the last great joining together of royal houses, the way it had been happening in Europe for hundreds and thousands of years. And so the fact that both Philip and Elizabeth were descended from Victoria made him a very eligible candidate for marriage. The Greek family, the Danish royal family, it all made sense, except of course that the Greek royal family had lost their throne when he was a child. So there were bumps along the road.
He was a great-great-grandson, wasn't he, of Queen Victoria?
Yes. So right. So it goes through his mother's line and through the family of Hessen in Germany.
We were sent a photograph today from Alan Davis. It was in 1952, and it was a visit that the Duke of Edinburgh made to Astley Green Colliery in Lancashire. He had an ability, didn't he, to talk to normal people, even though he was a prince from a royal family. And as we saw in Carol Lowe's report, had a particular affinity for the docks and for the seaports.
Right. Yeah, I think it makes sense if you look at the life in a whole picture, in that by not being raised in a palace, by not being raised as an heir to the throne, he had a bit of a different upbringing and was able to talk to people. But then, of course, the role of the sea was really, really crucial, in that his uncle and his grandfather had both been key figures in the British Navy in the early 20th century, and then it just made sense for him to connect to docks, boats, the lifeblood of the British nation.
And perhaps having had to give up his career in the Navy when he was married, it gave him he probably enjoyed those engagements as much as any.
Yeah, a lot has been made of that, I think, in terms of his biographies or the way he's portrayed in the television show The Crown, in that someone at the height of their career suddenly having to cancel everything and move back and get a supporting role for the Queen. And how exactly that was navigated, we will never know, because it's behind entirely closed doors. But I think, again, we can go back and say that he was born into this kind of social hierarchy. So knowing how to play by these rules was part of his breeding, you might say.
Dr. Spangler, thank you for now. We'll speak again towards the end of the programme. Dr. Jonathan Spangler from Manchester Metropolitan University. Well, religious leaders from across the faiths and throughout the region joined the tributes today. At Liverpool's Anglican Cathedral, the bells tolled 99 times at 5:30 as a mark of respect. Our Merseyside reporter Andy Gill has been speaking to the Bishop of Liverpool, the Right Reverend Paul Bayes, who began by expressing his deep sadness.
It's a profound sense of sorrow and of loss, really. I'm 67 years old. For the whole of my life, this man's been part of it. He's accompanied the Queen all the way through my own lifetime, as for so many of us, and he will be most greatly missed.
You met the Duke a number of times when he visited Liverpool. What was he like?
Always interested, always aware of the way that the city and the region were. The kinds of questions that could only come from someone who understood the situation that we were in, together with a real sense of encouragement and enrichment of our common life. And it was always, on the 2 or 3 times that they came here, always a great pleasure. I stood at the station to greet them from the Royal Train, and I was wearing this cross, the cross I'm wearing now, which is a slightly unusual one, and he leaned over and he stared at it and he said, "Tell me the story. What's the story?" And he was always interested in the story. And because he was interested, we felt just that much richer.
What do you think his passing means for the country as a whole?
I think what we saw in this man was a tremendously strong character, someone who was full of humour, very much his own man, who could have made his way in the world, but who chose to play the second part, to stand behind his wife, to be there for the Queen, and that the model that showed us of what you can do with your strength and with your character, that you can serve and you can support, I think was a lifetime's example.
The Right Reverend Paul Bayes there, the Bishop of Liverpool, speaking to Andy Gill a little earlier. Well, the Ramadan Foundation works in Manchester to build cohesion between communities. They sent their condolences today to Her Majesty the Queen. The Chief Executive of the Ramadan Foundation is Mohammed Shafiq, who met the Duke of Edinburgh on 2 separate occasions. He paid this tribute to him.
I think it's an extraordinary, sad day, not just for Her Majesty and members of the royal family, but for the whole nation. He was from a generation that served with distinction in World War II, fought alongside British soldiers, but also many of Muslim, Hindu, Sikh from the Commonwealth. And then he served with distinction as royal consort and supported thousands of charities up and down the country. And as a direct result of his involvement, those charities benefited. So it's a very sad day for the whole nation.
Mohammed Shafiq there from the Ramadan Foundation. The House of Commons Speaker, Sir Lindsay Hoyle, the MP for Chorley, of course, said it will be a sombre but very special occasion when Parliament pays tribute to the Duke of Edinburgh on Monday. And picking up on that theme of the Duke of Edinburgh's military service, Lindsay Hoyle said the role that Prince Philip played fighting against the Nazis during the Second World War must never be forgotten.
One of the last serving veterans of the Second World War, there's not many left, and without doubt his Royal Navy service was second to none. He was part of this country who fought fascism, who gave the freedom, the values to this country to ensure that Hitler didn't succeed. So it's the value you put on him and all the others that fought in that Second World War. It was a war that we mustn't forget, because without that we would now be suffering tyranny within this country. And it was his fight, along with others, that will be remembered. It is certainly the end of an era, and we will see nothing like it again.
Speaker of the House of Commons, Sir Lindsay Hoyle there. Well, among the many organisations paying tribute to the Duke of Edinburgh today was Salford University. Prince Philip was Chancellor of the university for 24 years between 1967 and 1991, and he did much to raise the profile of what was then a new university. Live to the University of Salford for us tonight, Abby Jones is there. Abby.
I'm at Crescent House, a building at the University of Salford, and right behind me is this wonderful mural, a photo of the Duke of Edinburgh on one of his many visits here. He was Chancellor here for 24 years. Nobody has stood as Chancellor here for longer than that since he stood down. I'm joined by Andrew Snowden, who's the Director of External Relations. As we said, he became the Chancellor at the inception of the university. That must have had a huge impact on the university, being associated right from the get-go with a very senior member of the royal family.
It did, Abby, and before I say anything else, I would just like to, on behalf of the whole University of Salford community, express our deepest condolences to Her Majesty the Queen and the royal family on the sad loss of Prince Philip, who, as you have said, was such an important part of our university community for many decades. And indeed it was fantastic for the University of Salford back in the 1960s to have the Chancellor appointed as Prince Philip, because this was a new university forged out of the Royal Technical Institute, and having such a senior member of the royal family as our Chancellor helped us on that journey to becoming the internationally excellent university that we are today.
And he's known as having a passion for education for young people, as evidenced by the Duke of Edinburgh Awards. Did he have any particular interests when he came here? Any memorable anecdotes of his visits?
Yeah, there's too many to try and choose, but I'll do my best. Prince Philip loved science and technology, and the university at the time, and still today, was excellent in its reputation in the built environment, construction, chemistry and subjects like that. But Prince Philip also just loved people, and also really enjoyed learning about the different people that were here on campus. There's a wonderful story of him stopping and talking to protesters just on the other side of the road, students who were taking part in a protest, just because he wanted to hear their view. And I think, first and foremost, he just believed in helping raise aspiration and give opportunities.
And quickly, he came back, didn't he, after he'd stood down, when Media City, the university building, opened there, so he kept maintaining this relationship.
Absolutely. When the Media City building opened in 2012, he and Her Majesty the Queen came and opened the building. And in 2017, to mark 50 years since he was appointed Chancellor and the university was founded, he had a reception for us in Buckingham Palace to mark the progress this university has made over those years.
Thank you, Andrew. Well, some wonderful memories there for this institution. There will be many others across the North West, charities, groups who have also forged a close relationship with the Duke of Edinburgh and are very grateful to him.
Abby, thank you very much. Abby Jones there, live at the University of Salford. In fact, as Abby said, many organisations. The Duke of Edinburgh was patron or president of 992 organisations with special interests, as Andrew Snowden was just saying there, in scientific and technological research, development, industry, and the welfare of young people, which we will come on to talk about in just a moment, as well as conservation, the environment and sport, of which more also shortly. The Duke of Edinburgh visited the Isle of Man on a number of occasions, most recently when he accompanied the Queen on a royal visit on Tynwald Day in 2003. Her Majesty's representative on the island, His Excellency the Lieutenant Governor, said he enjoyed his visits there.
I think he came over a span of about 50 years. I think he came 9 times. Twice with her for Tynwald Day, I think another 4 times, each of them in August, which I imagine was when they were travelling up to Scotland in the days of the Royal Yacht, and a couple of times on his own. So he was, I won't say a familiar face, but he was well known here.
Lieutenant Governor of the Isle of Man there. 2 minutes silence was held before the afternoon's play in Lancashire's County Championship match at Old Trafford this afternoon, and at Aintree ahead of the second day of the Grand National Festival. The Duke, of course, was closely linked to racing, in no small part because of the Queen. Richard Askham is at the course for us tonight. And news has come out today, Richard, about how the Duke will be remembered before the big event of the National Festival tomorrow.
Yes, Roger, people have been paying their respects to the Duke of Edinburgh here throughout the day. The Union flag that's flying there above the Queen Mother's stand has been flying at half-mast throughout the day. Prince Philip, as you say, had a long association with horse racing and equestrian sport in general, with polo and carriage driving as well. He was an honorary member of the Jockey Club since 1947. And as you mentioned there, we had a 2-minute silence here today. It took place ahead of the first race at about 1:45. Jockeys, trainers and Aintree staff all stood in respect to Prince Philip. And of course, as you mentioned there, Roger, Her Majesty the Queen had a long association with Aintree and the Grand National. The Grand National will take place tomorrow. There will be a 2-minute silence. Jockeys will be invited to wear black armbands as well. And as we've had here today, flags will fly at half-mast.
And tributes also today, Richard, from across the world of sport in this part of the world.
Yes, Roger, you mentioned it there in your introduction. There was a 2-minute silence today at Old Trafford with Lancashire in County Championship action. Players and match officials also wore black armbands. Flags flew at half-mast there as well. The Rugby Football League released a statement saying, as a sport, we will stand in tribute and reflection at our Challenge Cup matches. They take place this weekend. There will be a minute's silence ahead of Premier League matches, as well as there will be ahead of the women's internationals involving England, Wales and Northern Ireland. Players in those matches will wear black armbands. Prince Philip was president of the Football Association in the 1950s. One of the other sports that he loved was football as well as cricket. And as I mentioned, the Grand National will take place with those tributes that are planned to remember Prince Philip.
Richard Askham, thank you. Well, across the Northwest and much further afield, many young people have had their lives enriched by taking part in the Duke of Edinburgh's awards scheme. Prince Philip started it in 1956, since when around 7 million people from 130 countries have taken part, volunteering, playing sport, learning skills, and of course embarking upon expeditions.
Hi, my name's Shannon. I did my gold level Duke of Edinburgh award a few years ago, and my proudest and most enjoyable moment was when I got to go to South Africa as part of the residential section. We went on a charity work trip and we built 2 houses and ran a kids club for the community.
For me, DUV was about getting out of my comfort zone, so even signing up for it was a bit out of my comfort zone because prior to it I was quite shy and reserved and didn't really talk to many people in my year.
I've been working for a charity shop in my community, and I think definitely it's been a very interesting. You get to meet lots of new people, get to touch lots of interesting people, hear their story, and it just helped the community that you've lived in for so long.
DOV made me realise volunteering and helping people can help build my character as well as help others, so yeah, it really did help me.
My name is Stanley. Doing the Duke of Edinburgh Award allowed me to improve in my communication skills and the way I interact with people, and it gave me the assurance that I can be able to do anything I put my mind to.
My name's Sarah Clark and I've just completed all of my Duke of Edinburgh. Our biggest walk was when we went to the Lake District for our goals, which was a 50-mile round trip, and I actually thought I got us to our destination on the first day. Turns out I got us 8 miles lost off the map. But yeah, that was an amazing experience, and I think the Duke of Edinburgh is an incredible programme, and I think everyone who can should get involved in it, and I, for one, am very grateful I took part in it.
I think it really just gives you a better mindset towards things, and it gives you the resilience you need to just get through life, really.
Some life-changing experiences there. Those some of the thousands of young people here in the North West, many of them now adults, of course, who've been through the Duke of Edinburgh Awards scheme. Lisa Hignett, who runs the scheme in Cumbria, told Juliet Phillips a little earlier how important it is for young people there.
It's extremely important. It gives them so many opportunities that they might not otherwise have. And here at Cumbria, we're lucky that Cumbria County Council have a licence which enables school in the county to enrol young people into the award and gives them that opportunity in this beautiful part of the world, which is obviously perfect for the expedition side of things, but also young people go from strength to strength through the award, through all the other sections and all the great things it enables them to do.
It must be very special seeing them gain skills and gain confidence.
It is, and I'm lucky because the DOV coordinators in the schools I work with do a fantastic job with the young people, getting them through at all 3 levels. And I'm lucky because I do the nice bit, so I approve the awards and send out the certificates and badges, and occasionally I'm lucky enough to be invited to a Gold Award ceremony.
And you have actually met the Duke of Edinburgh in person. Tell us, how was that?
I have. It was one of his last appearances actually before he retired. It was a Gold Award in Scotland at Holyrood, and I was with a group of young people from Cumbria, and at the time he was going round, and he always kept people waiting, so he was always late coming out to do the awards. And I said to the young people, have a little story ready, because he always asked people a few questions, have a little anecdote ready. But to my surprise, he actually stopped and spoke to me, so I was a little bit tongue-tied, but I did manage to answer his questions. But he was a lovely man, obviously very passionate about the award, and just made all the young people feel at ease. It was a really fantastic day, and I feel really lucky and privileged to have met him.
Lisa Hignett there, who runs the Duke of Edinburgh Awards scheme in Cumbria, talking to Juliet Phillips. Dr. Jonathan Spangler, historian from Manchester Metropolitan University, is still here. Thank you for staying with us. Interesting there, he's done a lot for so many young people, but then the length of time he's served as the Queen's Consort is unprecedented.
It really is, and I think it's such an important part of royal history, or the history of any monarchical institution, is someone who's been around for such a long time can really make a mark. And the fact that he was setting standards and improving things in the 1950s, 1960s, it's sort of about continuity. There have been other consorts, Victoria's husband Albert, or even George III's wife Charlotte, who have these long-standing, very strong family relationships.
And these particular awards, I know, sort of the social history isn't so much your thing, but it has made a huge difference to so many young people's lives.
Yeah, I think so, and I think that it's the thing that really helped the monarchy move from almost a 19th century Victorian monarchy into a 20th century and now 21st century monarchy, is really being involved on a lot more levels of society, with youth programs and other things that reach out to many communities.
And I suppose that's the evolution of the monarchy, isn't it? Because as we said at the beginning, the Queen marrying someone else from a royal family, but as we've seen more recently with Catherine Middleton and then Meghan Markle, nowadays members of the royal family look much further afield for their spouses.
That's right, and others as well. And there are many more people who are involved in the work with the royal family, and so I think it makes it a bit more broadly based.
We're very grateful to you for bringing your insight to us this evening. Thank you very much indeed. Dr. Jonathan Spangler, who is a historian from Manchester Metropolitan University, an expert, as you could hear, in royal history. Right, we'll have a few final thoughts at the end of this evening's special edition of North West Tonight. But before that, let's find out what the weekend weather is looking like. Owain is here.
Good evening. Well, we're in cold air at the moment and we will remain in that cold air as we look towards the weekend as well. So temperatures will go downhill as we head through both Saturday and on Sunday. This is the air mass chart. You can see this cold front has moved down towards the south. We're now pulling down that much colder air from the north and we'll hang on to that through both Saturday and on Sunday. And not only will we notice the temperatures will go down, but we'll also notice a wind chill. So out and about, it'll feel a lot colder than the temperatures that perhaps appear on the thermometer. But we also have high pressure nearby, and this is controlling our weather really over the weekend. You can see a few spots here, a few showers, so I think that we do run the risk of seeing a couple of those as we head through the weekend. Let's have a look at the finer detail for this evening then. Well, under clear skies, those temperatures will slide away. We could be down to -4 or even -5 in places. It is going to be a cold one tonight, and we've seen some showers over the past 24 hours. So we run the risk of seeing some slippery surfaces through tomorrow morning. It'll be a dry, bright start for most of us. We'll see some sunshine, a bit of cloud here and there perhaps, but I think many of us will enjoy sunny spells as we head through the day. You'll notice some showers appearing then as we move through the afternoon, and because of that colder air mass, some of those may very well turn to sleet or snow, but few and far between. It's a dry story for most of us. It'll be a bit breezy, and of course that is a northerly wind. So temperatures here showing 8 or 9 Celsius, but it'll probably feel more like 3 or 4 Celsius in that wind if you're out and about. Now, if we return to the air mass, you can see we're still in the blue colours there on Sunday, a few weather fronts nearby. It doesn't look like they'll get to us, and the high pressure should remain in charge of things on both Saturday and on Sunday. You'll notice as we look a little further into next week, temperatures will very slowly start to rise a bit. So it is very cold for now, but it looks like the temperatures will very slowly then start to rise through next week. And by the end of next week, potentially something less settled. But until then, it should remain mostly dry. That's the forecast. See you soon.
Owain, thank you. Service is a word which many people have used today to describe the Duke of Edinburgh. His death, just 2 months before his 100th birthday, will be felt in many parts of the world. Here in the North West, he was a welcome guest many times, and he helped to shape many young lives. Good night.